All right, we're gonna talk about the Alaskan Swatter. First of all, these aren't swatters at all, or flappers for that matter. They just happen to look like an old school fly swatter, which is kind of how they got their nickname. So if you've ever seen a swatter before, usually a glorified mud flap on the end of a wooden pole with an adapted mount system. And there's a few different styles of mounts, but most of them look like a long spindly T shape. Our Alaskan Swatter was developed in Alaska. It was as simple as cut up mud flap or old swatter material on a center pole, and that's it. And this was essentially designed to act as a bristle brush and a swatter both, where once you deformed it, and usually you're doing that by just kicking it with your boot, now you have a brush that you can poke in to pretty dense foliage and drag out all the understory, be it pine needles, deciduous leaves, that sort of thing. By simply putting it on the ground and giving it a little rotation, you not only have a smothering device, but you also have, by virtue of these vertical tines, you have a glorified rake too, to keep doing the same. And with material that is still burning, it does a great job of rolling those embers while you're smothering it. And it's almost like stirring up the fire, the ashes when you're on mop up, but it can kind of do both roles at one time. So this material, just so you know, is the same thing that a standard swatter is made out of. We just stopped dyeing it black because frankly it costs more money and there was no reason to do that when it turns black over time anyway. So that material is every bit as sturdy as the black material you see already in the US and Canada market, but has the added benefit of not costing all of us much more money. There's an end cap on here with an Allen that can be pulled off, and these pieces can be, of course, replaced and serviced. We have a combi style neck on here, and somebody's got that on extraordinarily tight. This combi style head actually does fold up so that when you pull the tensioner and collapse this tool, you can put it in its own sling and actually either pack that on your back or tie it into a pack. The nicest part is a lot of brush trucks have relatively small storage. Unlike the other swatters on the market, this little guy can fit in a compartment somewhere rather than have to be thrown on top of the vehicle and basically rot in the sunshine at all times. So having this much smaller signature is actually really important for storage purposes, not just for transportation by carrying the tool, but also in between times using it. Because it's not like you're using a swatter all the time, it's just a very, very, very valuable tool when you need one. Our swatter also carries the added benefit of having a flexible shaft, and the nice part about that is, again, not for hitting and fanning the flames, right? But just for that quote-unquote conformity or deformation factor against the ground. It just gives you some margin of error. It's also a relatively lightweight handle, which is nice, but it's every bit as durable as the mechanisms you see on the old school quote-unquote swatters. This item is very unique. Valfaris is the only company, to my knowledge, that makes an Alaskan swatter commercially. Again, something that originated in Alaska, but it certainly has its place in the rest of the world. That's a solid application, that tool. So I will say this, for a fire department, and I'll use a VFD as a case, right? Let's say you're used to having a shovel, a Pulaski, a couple of hose, maybe a McLeod, a full-size swatter on your truck. Well, what you could do is dump basically all of those tools and roll with exactly what you see here, the Gorgie and the Alaska Swatter. And here's why. So anything you can't just pick up with the swatter, which by the way, this would combine most of the efforts you need in certainly a grass fire on its own. This tool being for smothering / kind of raking, rolling embers, putting out a fire, sometimes even from behind. Some guys will walk up from the black to the back of the fire and just put it out behind the head of it, so to speak. This is going to be your digging / grubbing, right? heavy duty raking, especially if there's a lot of pine duff. That console rake is just amazing for it. You've got your clearing blade right here. You got the pick to get stuff out of the way, and actually if you have this sharp enough, that pick does a pretty good job of chopping and getting roots out of the way, where the hoe, if it's sharp as well, will clear that obstacle. This is for getting you down to mineral soil. That's for snuffing out what's on top. There isn't much reason on a brush truck, unless you just need more tools for more people, to have any more than these two items. And I'm going to add something to that. You combine those two items with our backpack pump. Now you have an ergonomically designed backpack pump that can carry 5 gallons of water. The wand is a double pumper, both directions. It's going to fire water. And between these 3 tools, you have a package that is going to solve most of those initial attack scenarios. That's it. So what you see on the table here is all you need.